Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys tonight?
Good, thank you.
Good,
Good,
thank you.
good.
Doing good.
All right, great. Well, we'll go ahead and get started since it's our time. I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight on our webinar. My name is Robert Griffin, and tonight we're going to be talking about home inspections. And we all love the home inspection. The good thing is, you get to an inspection, that means you got a contract. We all get excited when we get contracts. All right, so there's going to be a few more people jumping in, but I don't want to hold us up. Let's talk about home inspections. Just so you guys know, if I go too fast, let me know. Or if you have any questions, let me know. But there will be a time at the end of our session that will open up for questions and maybe go back and talk about a few things. But I do want to get through the material today and make sure that if anything needs to be answered or clarified, I try my best to do that. But let's talk about home inspections. In the real estate, an inspection period is a time frame during which buyers have the opportunity to perform their due diligence. They want to buy a piece of property. It gives them the opportunity to inspect it. And if they don't meet their standards, or they can either cancel the contract or they can renegotiate the terms. At the end of the day, if they cancel the contract, the buyer will be able to get their option fee, give up their option fee rather, and get their earnest money back. But in most cases, we know buyers don't put contracts on homes to walk away from the deal. They want to get the house. We just got to make sure these inspections meet their expectations. And if not, get those things negotiated so we can help them move forward. So tonight, we're going to talk about four things, right? The four things that we're going to talk about is the time frame that buyers get to do inspections, or when they should consider starting inspections. We're going to talk about the importance of providing a list of inspectors to your buyer, especially if you got a good relationship with someone, they do a good, thorough job, and they make sure to, answer the buyer's questions after the inspection is over, or they just really go into detail about what they observe during the inspection. All right. The next thing is reviewing the inspection report with buyers. I got a sample inspection here that we're going to talk about. We're not going to be able to go into a true in-depth with it, but hopefully we'll get a chance to look at some things that we can identify when we start looking through the inspections with our buyers going forward, and maybe answer some of those questions. And then the last thing is, if we need to, how to negotiate the repairs from their inspection reports. All right, so let's get started. Inspection time frame, right? Everybody want to know, what is it? How many days do I get? Should I go 5? Should I go 7? Should I go 10? I mean, it all depends on you. All right. The experts recommend having inspections performed well before the deadline, so you're not scrambling trying to get everything done. So in this case, if you have a 5-day or a 7-day or a 10-day, plan accordingly. When you think about it, and you finish on time and you plan accordingly, you get everything done earlier. And then if you do have some other time, it gives the buyer an opportunity to reflect on the property. What are they getting? Is this really truly the home for us? And they're not scrambling trying to figure out how's this going to work out, right? And it's highly recommended that a buyer would contact an inspector, inspection company, someone that can help them, get out there and inspect that property within 24 hours. Especially if you got a 5-day turnaround, 24 hours, you have to be out there. But if not, make sure you get out there or get someone out there as soon as possible. Okay. And if you do get someone out there within 24 hours, this will give you some time to schedule an initial inspection. And then if you have to do a re-inspection, or if you have to get someone out there to give you a quote on some of the repairs that are needed. So that's why it's best to, plan accordingly and make sure that you give yourself ample enough time to move forward. And then normally home inspection time ranges, like I said, anywhere from 5 to 7, 10 days. I think 10 days is better because sometimes if you get into a busy season like right now, houses are selling and they're selling fast. And sometimes these inspectors, they can be booked up. So you want to make sure you give yourself some time. So I say 10 days if you're negotiating for your buyer. But I need some time, and investors, they probably don't need 10 days. They probably want 5 days or 3 days. And you can base this on your client. Particularly a new home buyer, give them at least 10 days to get this going, okay? Any questions so far? As a seller, they want to get the home inspections done fast, right? Because they know that the buyer has the opportunity to walk away. So it's in their best interest that the buyer get the inspection done as soon as possible. And for the buyer too, right? I mean, we're just not thinking about the seller, the buyer too. So while home inspections are considered an essential part of the due diligence process, we have to remember that as real estate agents, we generally are not qualified to do inspections and evaluate home for physical defects. Let
Robert,
the people that do their job.
I have
Yes.
a question. Now, is
Yes.
the inspection time frame, should it be within the option period?
Oh yeah, for sure. It has to be. I'm talking about inspection particularly, but I should have just called it option period because that's what it is. So all inspections and option periods should run together. So yes, good question. So when you're negotiating, if you guys understand what she was asking about the option period, this is that unrestricted right to give the buyer to terminate contract or to do due diligence. Example, inspections. Make sure that you get enough time for everybody to feel comfortable, particularly 10 days, but if not, 5, 7, whatever you guys are comfortable with, you could do that as well. All right, good question. All right, here we go. Some of the top areas that are inspected, and some of them, can be major, some of them can be petty, but we want to make sure that, the buyer's not buying a house that's going to come apart in 2 weeks. It's kind of like when you're shopping for a used car. You don't want to go out there and buy a lemon, so we're not going to have our buyers and sellers selling or buying used homes that don't fit the buyers or sellers' needs, okay? If I can get that out right. All right, number one, the exterior. The exterior is big. People look at roof, all kind of stuff, slab, foundation, but the exterior can be limited as well, because if you got a condo, they're not going to do very much. It's just going to be a couple of walls, but you don't get the chance to see the full side of the building, all 4 sides of the building, or that unit rather, right? The interior, this is anything that's on the inside of the 4 walls, the attic, crawl space, if they have it, whatever interior that they can look at. Structure, plumbing, electrical. And let me tell you something about electrical. We'll probably talk about this a little bit later. Code always changes with electrical. So something when a house was built in 2000 and let's say 10, the code then is not probably the same code as 2020. So when you have these inspectors come out and they say, hey, why is these wires double grounded and doesn't have this or that, sometimes it's because the code has changed, and that didn't necessarily mean that seller or homeowner did not go in and change per code. So it just needs to be brought up to date. And this doesn't mean that the house is going to burn down. It just means that they found a better way of ensuring nothing happens with the new code. The heating system, of course, the air conditioning. And, you know, when you're talking about air conditions and inspections, you know, if it looks like this air conditioner is on its way out, meaning that it's old, it's rusted, you know, it looked like it was built in the 80s, take a look at that. Maybe you should negotiate that for your client and try to get them a new one, or figure out, or let them calculate when they're going to think they're going to replace it. Now, of course, you know, everybody get that home warranty, 110 warranty, whatever warranty you got out there. But at times they're going to want that that deductible, and they sometimes only pay some of it. So if you can just address it up front, would be better. We'll talk about that during negotiation. And then they're also let you know if there's any deferred maintenance that needs to be addressed. You know, I was talking about AC. A lot of times I know people don't get those yearly flushes or, you know, wash downs of the coil. It's some simple stuff that you can do for maintenance that'll take you a long way. And I'm pretty sure your inspector, they will, you know, go over those maintenance items with you. Any questions about that so far? All right, well, we're moving on along. Providing a list of inspectors to your buyer. This could be a little sticky situation because, you know, you don't want to be sending an inspector that don't do a good job to a buyer, or that inspector don't meet your needs. Particularly, you know, for me, I go with people that I've had good experiences with. They've done a good job of talking with the client, going over the report, not having an issue. They didn't really understand it, repeating themselves, or more importantly, just understanding that if they have a concerned client, that they have to kind of, you know, take care of it. And also, you know, don't just skip through the report to kind of get through the process and get on to the next house. But at the end of the day, a common question for home buyers is whether they should use a real estate agent recommendation for the home inspector. Nowadays, clients trust their real estate agent to refer a qualified and ethical home inspector, but they don't have to use your recommendation, right? They don't have to use your inspector. But in most cases, going with your recommended person would probably be better, just because you have worked with them in the past, and they're more likely to be trustworthy and qualified to do the job. Okay.
I wanted to just kind of throw a little something in there on that. This is Danielle Novice, by the way, Robert.
Hey, Danielle.
Hey, yeah, I would definitely say you'll see the difference as you're in the field for a while as to what the difference is in different inspectors. Obviously not just simply personality, but their detail. There are some that will merely go to the edge of the roof and put their ladder there and look on the roof, and I've got some that'll get on top of a 2-story roof. It just really depends on how detail oriented they are. Ones that are not that detailed, I'll get maybe like a 25, maybe 22-page report. And those that are very detailed, I'll get like a 39-page report. And they'll have things so detailed where they're like, oh, you gotta switch the light switch thingy like 3 times instead of 2, and that's how it works. And I'm like, wow, dude, who would have known? And so just be very aware of that, and then build that relationship with them as well too, because then they'll be more willing to help you out whenever you need a inspection done really quickly and things like that. But also make sure to give your client a variety. I would say provide them with at least 2 or 3 options, just in case, you know, you want to give them the ability to be able to select their own versus you just providing one. And if it was a bad experience, obviously they're looking at you and saying, gosh, these are the people that you recommended. Just heads up for people.
Oh my God, that was so great. I feels like he was reading my script over here. That is awesome. Great information. Yeah, give them, you know, as many options as possible, because although we can provide a list of local inspectors, it is really important that your buyer to compare a few different inspectors and ask their own questions so that they can make informed decisions. You know, on the screen, I actually got a few inspectors that I've used in the past that have done a pretty good job. You guys probably have some out there that you felt has done a pretty good job. So make sure they have options and let them read reviews or whatever it is they feel comfortable. And a lot of times too, it could be price. You know, some of these companies, they have different prices for different things. You know, a certain square footage, you might see this, a certain square footage, you may see that. So it's also good, especially if that buyer is price conscious, you know, they don't want to spend $1,000 on an inspection, you know, at least they have some options and they make their own decision. But yes. So here's that list over here. Take a snapshot of it if you want. If not, you know, kind of make your own list as you go. Okay.
I don't know about you, Robert, but I would definitely say like Apex is one of the more affordable ones. I say usually they're, you know, homes that are less than 250 or so. They're around what, 325, 350, which is definitely one of the most affordable ones that I've seen.
Yeah, I like them. I've used Apex and AG. I got like.
Yeah.
Somebody else wanted to say something. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had a question. This is Roderick. I've been seeing
Hey,
lately.
Roger.
How you doing, sir? I've been seeing lately a lot of listings have had an inspection report that's already uploaded to HAR. Like, should we trust that and go by that inspection report, or have our client get a new one?
Good question, man. Let me tell you, an inspector, when they go out and inspect homes, their license is on the line. So I would trust that, you know, every inspector has integrity and would do the right thing when they're doing these reports and these assessments. But I also would have a comfort in knowing that I hired someone to do my inspection. So, you know, if they had an inspection, I would use that as a general, okay, I know these things should be there. Let me see if they fixed any of them, but I would get an inspection. It's kind of like also like a builder, right? Builders, when they start to build a home, their homes get inspected through every phase of the building process. You know, either the county or the foreman, someone comes out and they have to sign off and say, hey, you have met the requirement per code to move on to the next step. But as a homeowner, buying a home that has been built by a builder, I always advise them to any house you buy to get an inspection, because builders can skip things too, just like anyone else. I'm not saying that they will, but it's just a safe fact to know that you are buying a home that you know exactly what's going on there at the home, or you had an opportunity to address the things that are going on with the home before you move in. Ain't nothing like moving into a home and all craziness break out because you didn't do an inspection.
Do you mind if I add to that a little bit, Robert?
Sure, come on.
Sorry, I don't mean to hijack your meeting here.
Yeah. Hey, we love participation. It's a team effort. Come on,
Good
share that
deal.
information. You got a lot of experience, so it'll be helpful to share.
Good deal. So I would definitely say, I do know with the resale home, sometimes maybe it was under contract previously and they did an inspection. And so the listing agent's like, here's the inspection already. And look, the client already took care of these things or whatever it may be. Again, like Robert said, you know, their license is on the line. So they did a job and were hired by that previous person. So mind you, they were looking out for the best interest of that person. And that report was meant for them. So in the event, while you can go ahead and use that as a rule of thumb to say that, okay, well, we know what's wrong with the property and we can look over these things and see if they were tended to or fixed or all that good stuff. Keep in mind that if something were to go wrong, you know, like something didn't get inspected correctly and your client moves in and they realize, oh my gosh, you know, why didn't anybody catch this leak? They can't go back and sue this licensed individual that works for this home, you know, for the inspection company, because they never even hired them in the first place. So that's where that kind of liability is laid open there. And so I would definitely say, you know, even though they did do an inspection report, I would still get my own done because we don't know how well seasoned that inspector was either. So, you know, you're kind of rolling the dice on that.
That's what I'm talking about. That's good, guys. Thank you so much, Danielle. I really appreciate that. Did anyone else have anything or any input there? Okay. I mean, we're going to have some more information come up, so please feel free to share. I was moving on to the next slide here, talking about reviewing the inspection report with the buyers.
I did put a
The first 3 pages of an
question in
inspection
the,
report.
Robert, I did put a question in
Yes.
the chat room a while back ago.
Yes,
It
I
was,
couldn't hear you. Can you repeat? I think.
can the buyer or buyer's agent be at the inspection?
Right now we're living in different times, and I would tell you to, partner with your inspector. They'll tell you. Most of them would like for the buyer or buyer agent, if they wanted to attend. They definitely don't have to, but if they wanted to attend, I've seen most inspectors ask them to come about 30 minutes, before they end. And one of the reasons why they do that is because, they're trying to focus on the home and the work at hand. But if they're doing something and they make notes or you ask a question during the process, it can kind of slow them down or distract them from their map through the home to do the inspection. But in most cases, I would tell you, and I use most cases a lot, I'm sorry, but I don't typically go to inspection. I will probably meet up with or talk to the inspector at a later time and go through the report in detail. If there's anything, normally these people that you have a relationship with, they'll give you a thumbs up or tell you, hey, there's some concern way before the inspection is even over. That's what Danielle was talking about, building that relationship. But at the end of the day, you can go if you would like. I would just partner with the inspector. And if you're looking for a recommendation on going, I would stick with whatever the inspector says or try to get there about 30 minutes before the end of the inspection. Any other agents out there, or anyone maybe have anything they want to add to that?
I would definitely like to say, as a buyer's agent, I normally do go to inspection when I'm representing the buyer, for sure. Just to I'm not really doing much, but sometimes I'll ask an additional question or two that maybe they didn't think of, and things like that throughout the process, and maybe give my 2 cents kind of thing. And maybe, the inspector doesn't elaborate as much as far as the information that I know from the years that I've been doing it. But I would definitely say, if you're representing the seller, please have your seller leave that house. Please do not have them sit there at that house while that inspector goes through there. You have no idea how many times they have stuck their foot in their mouth. Their eyeballs will start looking at certain things of repairs. They'll start talking and say, oh yeah, way back when, and that fell through and we fixed it and we patched it up, but we just kind of stuck something on there. And man, they could really put their foot in their mouth sometimes, which is not in your benefit. Or they can sometimes be negative Nellies and say, oh, come on, Mr. Inspector, really? Were you really going to write that down like a flimsy little, door or door handle or something? Like, really, and they'll make things bigger than what they are, kind of thing. So I always recommend that the seller not be there.
All right. Anyone else? Good, man. Thank y'all so much for sharing. This is great. I like getting questions out there. So moving on, the first few pages is introductory, some information about, the inspection, the state standards and practice, probably like a comment key or definitions or something. And then the home inspector will provide information to help you, the buyer or seller, if it's a pre-inspection, to understand what each different element of the report means. They'll give you a key of symbols or codes where they'll use throughout the report to identify the severity of each item. But before we get into a sample report, let's take a look at some of the codes that you may see. And this is not, anybody in particular, but you may see some of these codes on the inspection report. Most inspectors, they're included, but not limited to variation of these codes. Okay. Let me see if I can get those up here. All right, I went too fast. So I was for inspected, and they'll kind of give you the definition of each of them. This item was inspected, okay? NI, not inspected. This might have been they couldn't get to it, it was blocked, it was unacceptable, but pretty much they didn't get a chance to inspect it, okay? NP, not presence. The item was not accessible or locatable, kind of the same thing. Pick your poison. S, safety concern. This possesses a safety concern that should be addressed immediately. They probably gonna highlight it or make it red, something to that nature to call it out to make sure that you know, or you know, in their recap, they would have it as you know something to tend to right away. R, general repair. This item requires repair, but not cause an immediate harm or damage. You'll probably hear some people say cosmetic, you know, repair. And then D for deficient. This item is not functioning or requires repair, correction by a licensed tradesman. They're always gonna tell you that, you know, get a professional out there because that's what you should do. When you start getting people to do things outside of their profession, it can lead to an incomplete job or, you know, not the proper fix. So make sure that you're getting the right professional out there to look at some of these items if there is any concern. So I'm gonna switch over to like a little sample, I guess, inspection report. I'm not gonna go through all of the pages, but I do wanna point out, you know, how, you know, this thing is written. In most cases, I found that the verbiage is going to come first. So they're going to identify a written statement of what the concern is or what they may have inspected. And then follow that, you'll see a picture. So, and then a picture normally has some arrows or some kind of indication of what they were trying to tell you. So let's look at this one. This one is skylight, chimney, roof penetration, repair or replace. Ridge vent loose at the end above breezeway and needs to be fastened. Nail head used to fasten should be sealed with sealant. All right. So then they'll go and they'll show you exactly where it is. Some inspectors, like, you know, we were talking, Danielle was saying earlier, they're very detailed. They wouldn't take this picture and from the bottom here, they'll be right on top of it and show you where the nail head is and where it's probably loose at, so they can show you more of what that looks like. Because see, from here, when you look at that, you can't necessarily see that that's loose or that it needs to be repaired. But you'll see the difference with the different type of inspectors you deal with. Moving on, you know, I wanted to point out here, I know, let me let the screen catch up here. So I'm going to show you this one where, you know, the arrow actually works and you can actually see the repair that's needed. This one is on 2-3, decks, balconies, stoop steps, areaways, porches, patio covers, etc. Bottom rail is soft or deteriorated in one area and others in other areas weathered. Need prep and paint. Deck stairs need algae removed with a cleaner and seal with a non-skid weather sealant. All right. Then you go down and you look at the picture there, you can actually see what they're talking about. If you see the arrow there pointing how it's deteriorated or chipped or just need repair. And then if you look at 2-3-2, you can see how the steps are weathered and probably need to be sealed. And you can see there's no slip resistant here. If this was up north somewhere where it was snowing or get icy, this would be a bad situation around this time of the year coming down these stairs. So just looking for these details through the report with your buyer is going to help them understand, you know, what's big and what's not. Oh, this is one that I like right here. Okay. So we talked about some things that you might want to address, you know, those two things you might want to address, but look at this one. So this one is 2-4 with the vegetation and grade. You know, we always want to keep the grade out the house. You hear every inspector tell you that, you know, you don't want termites or rodents or just, you want the slab to be showing, right? So they're saying here, this thorny bushes or vegetation obstructing the access and should be relocated to allow clearance from the siding of the home. And you can see, you can't even see out the window in this case. So in those situations, this could be considered minor. You can get your landscaping guy to come out there and cut that tree back and maybe remove some of that sod. This is not something to fuss about. It's just something that could be replaced. Now, if you remove that stuff and all of a sudden you find termites, then maybe you got an issue. But just to remove the brush away from the slab or do some grading, that's not something that you would want to go to fight for in an inspection report. And that's just my own personal opinion. Your buyer may say different, but you have to work through that process with your client.
I kind of wanted to mention something right here at this point, since you brought it up right now.
Okay.
About the, I think delivery can be a very big thing for a client. And I like to remind a client that no house is going to be perfect. And, sometimes when you receive a, 34 inspection report, 34-page inspection report, you're like, oh my goodness, holy smokes. And the client can feel very, yeah. And so I remind the client, no house is going to be perfect, not even new construction. Trust me, I literally just did new construction and got a 25-page report on that. And so it's good to have all those details. But I would remind my client, we're really worried about big ticket items. Many of the times they're like, oh, well, I want them to fix the door that doesn't latch. And I want them to fix the little doorknob here or something, or, minor little things. I want them to change out the air filter kind of stuff, and to them, all those little things feel like really big things, and they're really not. And so we should really focus on with our client, hey, let's worry about the AC, let's worry about the water heater, the condition of the roof, big ticket items that are really going to be make or break kind of deal with us. And so just remind them of those things, because they will turn sometimes a pea into a mountain and make it a very big deal when it's really not. So many things can be fixed. And it's like I tell people, you're going to want to work on your house and you're never going to be done with your house. You're going to be working on it. I had a client that just sold her house and she had it for 40 years and she never finished with her house. So
Never finished.
You're never finished. You're always going to want to fix or repair or add or change or something, always. Just keep those things in mind, and at least they have a honey-do list that they can go off and check throughout time and get things done on there. But don't let that totally break a deal. Obviously, if it's something like galvanized pipes, aluminum wiring, super old AC, or, things like that, then yeah, those might be a bit of a deal breaker, but see what you can work out.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I mean, if the house is going to be perfect, meaning that everything lines up, I can only imagine what that's going to cost. I could only imagine. So yeah, when you're going through these reports, try to sympathize and understand that, hey, this person is spending their hard-earned money to buy this home, to get in a position to purchase a home. And yeah, we want to address issues, but it's about the education, like, Danielle said, just talk to them about it. A lot of times when you don't know and you don't talk about it, it makes it like it's a big deal. And that's why we're having, webinars like this, so that whenever, if you're a new agent and you haven't really closed that many deals, this could probably be a big deal to you. You see all these things and be like, oh my God, this is a crazy report. Let's walk away from this deal. But in hindsight, it really wasn't. So, and we just gotta, learn as we go. Ask, our inspector to give us some guidance. Is this deal breakers, and go out there and get you some quotes on some of these things, so you can see, is it really some stuff that we need to be concerned about? And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But just go through the report. We got a weather door here, a garage door. I can tell you, our house was built in 2012 or something like that, and our garage door handles look like they've been on there since the 80s, because the sun, just eats it up. If your car's sitting outside all the time and you got a dark car, you're gonna have sunburn on your car. I mean, it's just a fact. It's just nature. Or if it's getting rained on consistently and drying all over and over again, and you're not protecting it with some type of sealant, these things are bound to happen. Wood is getting rotten. I mean, but I think we all know that, so I'm not going to hop on it. But at the end of the day, just walk through these reports with a fine comb tool, if I can get that out, a fine teeth comb, so that your buyers feel like you guys know and understand this property as you're getting it. It's funny, I was about to switch back over and get started, but here's one that you really want to kind of be concerned about, right? Hopefully you can see 401 walls. There's a light switch here. On the lower, it shows that it's evidence of water getting in from outside. There's a light fixture in relation to this wall switch, and perhaps water is getting in there. I recommend further investigation to determine the location and correct. And then they show you this picture. You know, when you see water coming from a light switch, that is not a good sign, for sure. And I wouldn't be the one to touch that light switch to find out how active that leak is. So these are things that you want to address in those reports to make sure that your buyer is comfortable, and even your seller. I mean, if they're living in a house and they got water coming in and getting into an electrical receptacle, man, who knows what can happen? Kids, people, fire, anything.
It's like I
So-
tell people, the main thing that we're concerned about is electrical and gas, because those things will kill you, and you ain't making no mortgage payments if you're dead. So those are the those are the most important things, electrical and gas. If those are all right, then everything else is really just a, you know, maintenance, cosmetic, things like that. Oh, and even so, guys, please keep in mind that, you know, even the AC and the water heater don't necessarily have to be deal breakers if the seller's not willing to take care of those things. Remember, if you got a home warranty policy, those items are normally covered. Make sure that the home warranty policy that they get covers those items. But also remember that it does, in order for them to be able to put in a work order, they do have to have the policy active for at least 30 days. So obviously in the winter time, you're okay with the AC not working. You can get through 30 days and let them come and fix it later on. But if you're in the middle of summer and your AC is not working, you're not going to be able to live for 30 days waiting for that home warranty policy to kick in.
Yeah, probably not 30 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, man. Man, you're doing such a phenomenal job. Thank you so much. Some great information. Guys, you know, to be honest with you, you know, as we go through these inspection reports and as we go out and get bids, truly, like she said, some of this stuff is right. It's not as a big of a deal as you think it is. You know, hot water heater, you know, somebody say, oh man, I got to replace a hot water heater. But what if somebody told you to replace a hot water heater is going to cost you $500? Is it that big of a deal now? Especially when you get in this house under market value, you got $10,000 of equity walking in, $100,000 in equity walking in. Is it that big of a deal? And that's why you got to weigh what it means to you and what it don't mean to you. And I'm pretty sure you guys will make the right decision. Okay, so I'll keep moving.
I would also encourage my client to do a termite inspection too, because boy, it looks really nice and everything. And then you find out, you know, the back wall's getting eaten up by termites. You're like, oh my goodness. I mean, and that can get pretty expensive. The treatment for that can actually, I mean, it can get into the thousands for treatment of termites. So yeah, you definitely want to look into those things. I mean, and normally, what would you say it costs about between like $80 to $100 extra on your inspection to get that done, Robert?
Yeah, yep. And it's
But
well
totally
worth it.
it. Yes,
Yeah,
well worth it.
It's well worth it. You know, I think on VA, they require that you get an inspection, termite inspection. Some of these other loans, they don't require it, but I would tell you, you know, man, it's worth it. Nobody wants roaches. Nobody wants ants. Nobody wants raccoons and whatever else could be in your house. Just take a look around the house and see if there's anything that's alarming that you want to be aware of.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some common questions that may come up in the inspection process. Who pays for the inspection? The agent does, right? That was just like, I know y'all like, you crazy? No, the actual buyer pays for the inspection. Sometimes the seller's prepping their home, like, we had a scenario earlier, we was talking about it. Someone had an inspection done prior to listing their home. And in that case, the seller pays for it. But when you're trying to buy a house, the buyer is going to end up paying for it because they're the one that's hiring the professional to come check it out for them. And that cost can range. Man, can that thing range? It all depends on the size of the home and the company that you're going with. I just threw this generic number out there and said about $250 or $400. That's on the average house, anywhere from, I guess, 1,300 square foot to about 2,200 square foot. You start getting outside of those, you may see a little increase or a little decrease from those. Depends on the company. How long does the inspection take? If it's a big house, 10,000 square foot or bigger, who knows? Could take a half a day. Now I'm playing. Most inspectors will tell you they'll get through those homes within about 2 to 3 hours on the average. They'll say they'll probably schedule it from 9 to 1 or something, and then what is that? Is that 1, 10, 9 to 12, and tell you to come up there around 11:30 if you want to walk through with them, but about 2 to 3 hours. And then there's the big questions. What fixes are mandatory, right? If you get an FHA deal, some of these other deals, they may require some stuff. If you report it, or when they go out and do an appraisal and they see some things that are not done, they may request some things, but really it's up to you and your lender to decide if anything applies or if you deemed it necessary that you want to get fixed prior, and some of it could be done prior to completing the sale or the closing. All right, then I guess we'll talk about some common things, right? What's common? A few common repairs that you'll see come up, is electrical. I can tell you electrical is probably going to be on every single inspection, just because, like I told you earlier about the code change. Things happen, updates are made to the code.
No.
Hey, Robert, we're not able to hear you anymore. Are you there? Uh-oh. Well, I guess people are starting to log off. That's very odd. I think he was kind of coming in and out like during the whole meeting as well too. So let's see. Hopefully he can get back on here. But just real quick, something that I did want to mention to you guys as well too, make sure that you go through these reports. Trust me, this is having to go through inspection reports is my least favorite real estate activity to do whatsoever. Like, I do not look forward to them. Sometimes I'm, leave them to the end of the day. Sometimes I look at it the next day because I'm just like, ugh, because it's a lot to go through. I find the PDF version of the report to be a lot more user-friendly for me. It's easier for me to read. And what I like to do is to create a list of the items that my client comes up with, for myself, of what I feel is necessary and important. And then I have a conversation with my client and ask them to go through the report and for them to give me what they feel are their most important things that they feel that they want taken care of. And then I combine the two lists together. And so once I get those lists together, then I go ahead and write up in an email format to the listing agent and let her know, hey, here's what we're trying to ask for the seller to pay for to fix. And I like to let them know, preference would be for them to go ahead and do the repairs in most cases. And then preference would be for them to, and then if not, we can talk about money in lieu of repairs, which is a good idea as well too. But there are some folks that they're like, man, I don't want to go and schedule, have to schedule the plumber and schedule the electrician and schedule the AC guy and wait for them to come out and take time out of my day and all these other things. They're like, you know what, just here's the money in lieu of repairs, just you guys go and fix it and stuff and whatever. So I've known that to be beneficial as well too. Does anybody have any questions about the inspection report or inspections in general?
I have a question. How do you go about knowing how much money to ask for in lieu of repairs? Are you actually going out calling people to get an actual bid, or are you kind of estimating?
You're really estimating. Sometimes I do get people to go out there, to be honest with you, if it's something that I feel is really important, or I'll call my handyman guy, or you do want to make a list of your own repair people, because there are going to be instances where you run into situations where maybe something does need to get fixed or what have you. And when that happens, you need somebody to be able to call, or if not, you're going to be going down, Googling and trying to find somebody to go out there. And we don't know how trustworthy they are, how dependable they are, and all that good stuff. So I would say, make those connections, make sure you can go through that, so that way your client can have a rule of thumb as to how much they should either ask for or what they're going to be looking at later on as far as repairs for themselves. Kind of tough though, especially if you don't know what those things will come out to be. You are kind of guessing and estimating. And obviously you'll have to see, am I already, because obviously the money that you're asking for in lieu of repairs is going to go towards your closing costs. So, or it's going to be reduced off of the sales price. And so if it's closing costs, and let's say that the total costs are $5,000 of closing costs, you've already asked for $3,000 assistance in closing costs. That means even if the repairs came out to, the money in lieu of repairs came out to be $3,000, you only have $2,000 more that you need to cover all of your closing costs. So, that'll, so what are we going to do? Take off $1,000 off of the sales price and then $2,000 off of the remaining part of the closing costs. So you will have to, work that out as well too. So in most cases, people want the items to be taken care of, but I've had quite a few people that are just really handy and they're like, oh, Danielle, I don't need them to fix it. I don't even know if they're going to do it right. They're like, I can do it. I've got the buddies or whatever. And I know I have the material and blah, blah, blah. They're like, I could do it. And I would just like to get some more money out of the deal, So, it just really depends on the scenario and things like that. But yeah, before you go asking for the money, I would try and get at least a rule of thumb to see how much that would generally cost before you ask for that money in lieu of repairs.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Robert, are you back? Robert? I'm not sure what happened to him.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. I was talking. I was like, man, that is such great teamwork. I am so thankful that you were on tonight. Every time I do a Zoom, it seems like something happened and my internet just dropped all of a sudden. I'm like, okay, great. When I came back, I heard you guys were still talking, so that's phenomenal. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So yes, guys, you heard her, and you guys are talking about in lieu of repairs. That was actually where we were headed to. We was finishing up some common repairs, but the next thing was kind of talking about how do you negotiate repairs, and you guys have already kind of talked about a lot of it. The biggest thing is, like Danielle said at the end, get an estimate first, right? If you think that there's going to be some money that you're going to be requiring, it's always to have facts. If you go to someone and really trying to work them and you're just throwing a number out there and you don't have an idea of what those repair costs, and someone may be a little bit more seasoned than you and be like, oh yeah, that don't cost that. You don't want to go down that route. You want to have as much gathered data as possible. You got the inspection report. That's the first thing. Then put a number to it. You know, sometimes, you know, I've gotten those pictures and pulled them out and create an email, and then I will go to Home Depot online and pull off the part or what it would take to replace the repair needed and put that cost in. Of course, I don't get the repair cost, but I got the material cost. And you can kind of use that as a gauge to show your contractor, hey, this needs to be replaced. This is how much it costs at Home Depot, how much it's going to cost you to do it. And that can kind of help them, you know, if it's not too tough of a situation, they don't even have to go out there. They can give you a bid by looking at your inspection report and you giving them the part item number that is needed to complete the repair. So determine what you would like to repair, right? Discuss what you can live with and what you can't live with. Get that quote from a contractor, and then understand that the seller is not obligated to make repairs or to give you any concession for the repair. So I would tell you, decide if you want the money or you don't want the money and make that happen one way or another. But at the end of the day, approach the repair request with a little gratitude. You know, don't try to attack them, be like, oh my God, this house is falling apart. I'm not buying this place. My buyer wants $50,000 to replace this stuff. You know, you're talking about a rebuild there. So just make sure that, you know, at the end of the day, everything is reasonable and you are, you know, not trying to go get them to remodel a 1981 house to a 2020 house. So just be realistic with your amounts, okay? And then try to understand from the buyer standpoint and the seller standpoint. You know, Danielle had mentioned earlier about, you know, some concession going towards your closing costs if you did get the money. If you had already negotiated $3,000 of closing costs in the contract to begin with, and then you turn back around and ask them for another $7,000 for repairs, how do you think their seller is going to feel? Now they were thinking they were going to sell their house and give up $3,000. Now they, at the end of the day, they're going to have to give up $10,000. Now, if it's needed, then it's needed. But look at it from the buyer side. If you thought that you was going to come out of your pocket paying $3,000 to close on this house, right? And then at the end of the day, it becomes $10,000 to close on the house. How does that going to make you feel as a buyer? Don't let either one of those deter you from negotiating the best deal from your client. I just want you to be kind of thoughtful and mindful of how this relationship works and how the negotiation is going to work and, you know, what you expect the outcome to be. All right. And that was it, man. I was able to slide that little bit in at the end of the day. And hopefully, you know, it serves purpose and you guys got a lot of information. I mean, I'm grateful that you guys are sharing and interactive here. I hope for more interaction in the future and making sure that we're giving you guys what you need. You know, if you think of anything, you got my name, my email here, my number. Danielle is one of the other mentors here at Texas United. And as you can see, she's very helpful. She's very knowledgeable. She's been doing real estate for some time now. You know, you need to reach out to any of us, the mentor team or any agent. I'm pretty sure I've looked at Texas United as a family. I know we don't know each other, but if you look in our group chat, when people are asking questions or someone needs something, I think everybody rally to the task and do what they can to kind of help a fellow realtor. And that's what we're here for. So I'll open it up just in case you guys got any other questions, but I know I've held you and I just want to make sure I respect your time as well. But is there anything we missed or you guys may have questions about? Okay, well, listen, it was a pleasure presenting for you guys. Hopefully you got something out of it. I'm going to try to have this thing downloaded and uploaded into the training material just in case, you know, we missed something or something went by too fast. You just want to take another peek at it. Hopefully it'll be available in the next day or so. But more importantly, man, thank you guys for coming out to the webinar. Hold on, I see some people writing notes and I don't have them up on my screen. Maybe, let me see, is there something? Hold on, make sure I'm not missing a question. Am I on mute? Am I on mute? No, I'm not on mute. Am I?
No, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, maybe that was an early one. Okay, yeah. Everybody was just thanking for time then. Okay, great. So, man, I love you guys. Enjoy your night. Thank you for coming out. And if you think of anything later, I'll be available, and Danielle's available. We'll be more than happy to help you guys. But more importantly, go out there and sell some homes. Happy Thanksgiving. You guys be safe out there. Enjoy your holidays, and hopefully we'll chat soon. Let's sell some houses. Take care and good night.
Have a good night,
Thank
guys.
you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Don't forget to save your recording.
I know, right? I'm going to work on that right now. Thank you so much. Talk to you later, Mama.
Good deal. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.